West Harlem has always been a haven for creative expression, boasting an array of arts-based organizations and community centers. With nonprofits in particular, outside funding and government grants help sustain programming, which can bolster community involvement. The COVID-19 pandemic, however, presented unforeseen hardships to small businesses across the city, including artistic centers. The Morningside Players, the Mama Foundation for the Arts, Dances for a Variable Population, and Arts and Minds, who all receive funding from the West Harlem Development Corporation, are 4 West Harlem-based organizations that faced such challenges. Now that operations are finally getting back to normal in the aftermath of the pandemic, here are their stories. The Morningside Players, situated in the Morningside Gardens Housing Cooperative at Broadway and 100 LaSalle Street, is a theater group that performs both classic and original productions in the form of plays and readings. Founded in 1974, the company grew more prominence in the 80s and 90s as more people in artistic fields began moving into the area. Managing Director Bridget Lester and Artistic Director Susanna Fraser took over in 2011.
I think our mission has been the same, but we're getting broader and broader in what we do include. We're really trying to be inclusive and diverse. The last play we did was about 2 gay lovers and the problems they had with one of their families from the South. We're trying to do, I think, a combination of plays, edgy, social, active issues of the current day, and then every once in a while a sort of classic like Dracula, which is very popular, or Turgenev's Month in the Country. So we've tried to balance that.
Throughout more than a decade of experience in their respective roles, Ms. Fraser and Ms. Lester always appreciate the small joys of seeing their work come to life.
I could say as a director, because I've directed a lot of the shows, I think there's a wonderful moment. The audience fidgets a bit coming in and they're getting used to the lights, and then you notice it about 12 minutes in, a real concentration and quiet. And then if you compare it to the end of the play where some people are sobbing, some are laughing and sobbing, it is so rewarding because you can see they've been wrapped up in it once they got focused. And I think that's, for me, one of the big highlights.
The Mama Foundation for the Arts, headquartered in a brownstone at 149 126th Street, provides musical education to youth in Harlem, celebrating Black voices and cultural traditions. The organization got its name and inspiration from the classic 1983 musical Mama, I Wanna Sing. The production chronicles the life of Doris Troy, the sister to co-playwright Vi Higginson, who also founded the Mama Foundation.
After my mother wrote that show down with my father, Mama, I Wanna Sing, that show broke barriers because it was so many people's stories of listening. There was a calling burning inside of them and wanting to be something or do something. And a lot of our, especially our African American culture, was not put on stage in that way at that time. It was back in the 80s where Mama I Wanna Sing was presented. And it became a phenomenon all over the United States, all over the world, where countries were crediting Mama I Wanna Sing for bringing gospel music to their country.
After the play finished touring, the founders returned to the same block where their story began and began building the center.
We found it so incredible to make sure that we were able to pass on the music to the next generation and preserve our history and African American history through our new generations. And that's what we do here. We teach, we do live music, we do musicals, and ever since 1998, when the foundation was built, we've been serving thousands of young people and adults with music and arts education since that time.
Dances for a Variable Population encourages movement for older adults and holds indoor and outdoor classes and performances all over the city. Its central office is located at 560 Riverside Drive in Morningside Heights. Artistic Director Naomi Goldberg-Haas founded DVP in 2009, but had already been working with older adults for several years prior. Ms. Goldberg-Haas often works with Jill Forger, an assistant teacher.
Many seniors don't get enough outdoor time, and dancing is a wonderful way to spend time outdoors.
Especially kids with that
Mostly it's dancing with other people, socializing, meeting other people.
So you meet so many dancers, so you dance with so many, you meet them deeply connected.
Yeah, you meet them on a deep level.
Dances for a Variable Population has helped many older adults live healthier lives after discovering the program, including Miss Forger herself.
After I had hip surgery, I had hip arthritis and it was difficult to walk. So I was recovering from my surgery and I wanted some activity to help recover. And I discovered the outdoor dancing. It was during COVID, so it was wonderful to feel that I could get outside and dance. And it has really helped my recovery from the surgery, and it really has built up my muscles. Naomi can't believe how well I can move now after having both hips replaced at once.
Arts and Minds provides visual arts engagement to people with dementia and their care partners, primarily through museum-based programming. The organization conducts sessions across the city, but has many programs in Washington Heights, Manhattanville, and Morningside Heights. One of the centers where they work, Morningside Health and Retirement Services, shares a building with the Morningside Players on LaSalle Street. Carolyn Halpin-Healy co-founded Arts and Minds in 2010 and serves as executive director.
The whole premise is that contact with art, collective looking, dialogues of interpretation, and art making are inherently life enhancing. And for those who are dealing with problems in their ways of thinking and their ability to think, art doesn't necessarily require them to think. You can be very much in the here and now. You can respond to the physicality of an object, you respond to the color, you respond to the light.
Arts and Minds instructors have often found that activities can impart transformative psychological benefits on participants.
There are so many stories that we have about people responding to art, and it's as if something just kind of turns something magical on in them. We'll often hear from a caregiver who they tend to gather caregivers and people with dementia. And we'll often hear from a caregiver, I never heard that story from my mom, but something in the work of art brought that out. Or we might hear from someone that he's so quiet at home, but here at Arts and Minds, he talks. So the caregiver gets to see the person with dementia being themselves, being a person who can express ideas, who can respond to works of art, who can converse with others, and who has something valuable to say.
All four of these organizations had firmly established themselves as community pillars and were progressing steadily until the pandemic hit in 2020. The shift to virtual programming, however, was a big change that forced many to adapt to the new reality.
The moment when COVID first hit was confusing. Like, what? Nobody knew what was happening. So it was like, we were at a standstill, pretty much. But once we really figured out that we knew we had to gear up, and that wasn't too far after. I said, oh, something's gonna go down. We gotta pivot. And we just started to move into action. We're always used to moving here, you know, that's kind of what we do, is move and figure it out, get the job done. And so, rough time. It's more of a confusing time, but it actually helped generate our creative juices.
You know, it was very frightening, and it was kind of devastating, because the whole purpose of our organization is to keep people in touch with art and in touch with one another, and to keep them out of the isolation that often kind of goes along with life with Alzheimer's disease or another dementia. We wanted to keep being a resource for them. And so we kind of reinvented the way we do it, and we switched our whole programmatic offering to an online experience.
Despite initial obstacles, artistic directors and organizers persisted through the quarantine with aplomb.
touchingly, a lot of people said to me, "Don't let the theater die out. We're already so depressed. Keep it going."
Right.
And also, I think we all are artists. Director, writer, actor, people. So it's like a yen to do that. After a while, you start to feel so bereft of not doing it. And so we realized other theaters were coping and switching to electronics, and so we decided to keep going.
As time went on, programming gradually returned to a new normal, and art centers began operating in person once again, with some still retaining remote classes and events as options to get involved.
People started to see the need for the arts, especially during that very confusing time. And the attendance was more than we thought it would be. That people really needed the music more, and so we needed to serve that. And so with individual donations and people like the Vaisley Elabash Fund and the Pinkerton Foundation and some individual donors, we were able to get out of that COVID time. And now we're back, and now we're thriving twice as much. Our attendance has doubled, and our students roster is incredible and thriving, and our staff has grown.
In terms of this recovery post-pandemic, it's very much an ongoing process, and our commitment is to maintain these programs and continue them. Funding is newly challenging, so it's become difficult again, and it feels like the organization is at a kind of a turning point where we're concerned about our sustainability, and we're concerned about the future longevity of this program, of this organization that has done very meaningful work. And I feel we still have a lot of work in front of us. So our big challenge now is to maintain funding, and we need some large grants. And so we're actively looking for those. That's one very important feature.
With the COVID era and its aftermath reaching a close and the city moving on, center leaders expressed their aspirations for the future of their organizations.
Our goals are to have classes all over the city.
In every borough.
In every borough. We have many classes, but we are looking to expand and create more classes for more seniors and all ages.
It's simply everywhere. There's information everywhere.
We developed an online training course, and we were able in 21, 22, and 23 to run successive pilots, primarily for museum educators around the country and in different parts of the world, to learn the arts and minds technique. And our vision is really that every museum should be able to welcome people with dementia and their care partners. We have a model program. We are working to involve more museums nationally and internationally so that wherever they are, they can meet their mission to serve their community by opening their doors to people with dementia and their care partners.
Now that more than 4 years have passed since everything closed down due to the pandemic, we can view those times in retrospect and see the progress small businesses and community centers have made.
I think of those famous words, I wish I had said to myself, "This will pass. This will pass," over and over, because I think I got into this sort of catastrophe mode. Well, why wouldn't we? We didn't know. But like the other day, I saw a COVID test like over at the side in our apartment, like forgotten, not used very much, and I thought how interesting. And they were like prize frightening items in the old days,
I think I'd say, well, we'll get through it. Good for us. We survived.
Yeah, right.
And the theater survived.
Try to be creative, put your heads together, get together as a team, fight through this. We are not going to shut down. We are not going to die. And what I would do is I would sing.